welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sarah. I'm from Innovate, and I'm thrilled to be your host for this event today. Today, we are hosting a webinar for transforming your business running RISE with SAP on AWS. This is a joint effort, so we have very special guests speaking from AWS, Mr. Thomas and Gino from our team. The event is in partnership with Redington, our close partners for AWS here in Saudi Arabia. Today, we'll go through a few points, share insights and expertise on how running RISE with SAP on AWS is the optimal option for this solution. Mr. Thomas is highly respected in this area. He has all the experience. So if you have any questions, shoot away. Gino has on-hand experience, and she has delivered multiple SAP projects on AWS for Ultimate clients in the past few years. So let me first take you through agenda. I'll do a very, very quick intro to Ultimate, and then I'll hand over to Thomas to tell you more about AWS as a cloud provider for RISE with SAP and all the advantages it provides for SAP customers. And then Gino will take it from here and then discuss all the value we provide for our clients as Ultimate and share a few customer stories. So let's get started with intro to Ultimate. We have been around for almost 20 years now. We are, Ultimate is a global consulting firm. We have offices all over the region. We have in Jordan, Saudi Arabia is our main office, in Egypt. India is our biggest office so far. UAE, and we have even office in USA. We deliver results based on leveraging our world-class experience in a local context, meaning that we use the local context of the industries that we work in here and the experience that we gain and apply it using different technologies like SAP and AWS. We focus on short time to value and long-term sustainability. Our goal is to enable our customer to be locally relevant and globally competitive. So we provide quality with local requirement and world-class expertise. We formulate your business strategy. We make sure the process is efficient and we have operational transparency. We do the IT strategy. We have a proven record of successful outcomes and turnkey solutions that we provide for multiple clients in different industries. And definitely the implementation. We have a static and proven successful framework, which Gino will take you through it. We have a mostly updated agile methodologies that we do, and we have packaged solution that is quick to deploy, minimum downtime, even zero downtime to implement. So we have everything that your business might need. And we also make sure to bridge the gap between what the value definition is and your value delivery by capitalizing on new and proven solutions, best practices, and service architecture and local requirements. Our offering is architected to deliver end-to-end from value definition to value delivery. So we take you from everything in between. We do, why would you choose Ultimate? Basically because we offer you everything, as I said, from value definition to value delivery. We are the right team. We have more than 100 consultants all over the world with different backgrounds and experiences. We have delivered multiple engagements in different industries. We have, as you can see, 10 plus S4HANA projects, and we have more than 30 success factors. We have partners in AWS, in Azure, in whatever you need. We are an award-winning, and that's most importantly, we have been recognized as delivery excellence due to our delivery successes into our clients. We have been also recognized as the highest achievement in 2022, and that's in top of being an advanced partner for AWS. Now I hand over to Thomas. We might pull out the first poll, please, if I may.
No, thank you very much, So we start with a poll question first. So great having me on this webinar and talking about AWS and why AWS is the better choice to run RISE or SAP at all in the cloud. So what we want to do, walk you through the advantages and get you and the information you may need around our partnership and how we can help you in your cloud journey, in particular RISE. So how we want to set it up with a poll question. I don't know if you are ready to put a poll questions up right away. So how does this work, right? We want to know from you a little bit, where are you on the SAP journey? And you have three choices. Please select ones and submit your response, and let's see where we end up with the attendees on that session. Do you want to press the polls, attendees? So that should work. Ansel, you decide when it's closed and you got enough responses.
Let's run it for next 15 seconds more.
Okay, perfect. And then let's see if we can display the results.
Please submit your responses. Five seconds. Thank you.
Okay. No, very interesting. So what we see, so some of you considering RISE, others really saying, okay, on premise, but maybe observing and still comparing my option. No, that's perfect. So that's also the reason why we do this webinar together with Altivate. And as Sarah explained, Altivate, a very recognized SAP partner in the area of SAP natively implementation, but also taking you along the RISE with SAP journey, in that case with AWS. No, thank you. So then we can close this session, this poll question, and gives us an indication. So what I want to do a little bit an overview what we are doing AWS with SAP for many years, right? And this chart actually shows you a little bit the history on how we engage with SAP over the years, right? And it's not just like yesterday, it has been a long time, and AWS has been supporting SAP in the cloud since 2008, right? And in 2008, SAP became a customer, and we supported, starting to supporting SAP customers then from 2011. So that's more than 15 years experience working together, innovate together. And we have constantly worked backwards from customer challenge. What does it mean? We learn a lot from the SAP customers implementing, moving to the cloud, and their challenges in different industries, different size, in the security space, in the availability space, in the resilience space, and how do we improve? And that's where we are today, right? And we are not finished with innovating, and I will talk about it, right? And as SAP became a customer of AWS 2008, at that time, there was no other hyperscaler available, right? There was no Google, there was no Microsoft Azure available as such, right? And that's actually, it gives us confidence, and SAP as well, to work with SAP much closer. And I will shed some more light on that. What does it mean that SAP has chosen AWS as the leading cloud provider for their innovation, in particular in the B2B area? But going over the years, some highlights, right? Maybe to mention, as you may recall, 2016, when Bernd Leuger, the former board member of SAP, announced SAP HANA in San Francisco and went on stage together with AWS, at that case an executive, to showcase SAP HANA in real life with our AWS X1 instance. At that time, a purpose-built in-memory 2 terabyte in-memory instance. And that's where we really learned to work together and do engineering together, what customer needs. And the track record shows there are definitely some icons here where you see how we innovate on behalf of the customer to provide them best performance, better price, or even best practice tools and mechanisms we provide to customer. On the top right side, 2021, we provided the well-architectured lens for SAP. What does it mean? It's all the best practice we learn from customers and partner, how to move the mission-critical workload to SAP. And what we put together, we created a document which describe different areas, operational resilience, security footprint, how to set up in a different kind of environment, HADR, how to set up the user, etc. Right? Everything well described, best practice, free of charge, nothing you have cost for. You can use right out of the get-go to ensure that you have the perfect start, right? Or that we use SAP Migration Blueprint, right? Looking at the different industries. So how can we ensure that customer leverage what we learned from all the migration we did over time? So again, a free service you use and have access to right away and to experiment. And I come to this point about experimentation, but this doesn't mean we are done with this, right? Look at SAP itself, right? SAP has a lot of SaaS solutions, right? Like the S4 runs on AWS, but there are definitely certain applications which only runs on AWS. Look at Signavio. And Signavio, you may know, right? It's a long-time AWS ISV partner, and they are really key to SAP, and they run on AWS. AppGyver, it's the same, right? Also long-time ISV partner for low-code, no-code options, right? And I talk about it if I talk about B2B in particular, how you can use that. And there are a lot of other services and offering SAP relies on AWS. And for those who are maybe familiar with the NS2 HANA Secure Cloud in the US, where the government runs slowly their services on that dedicated cloud, this runs only on AWS because of the security footprint, because of the security services we have available. So give a little bit an overview about that. So if we move to the next slide, I mean, there are definitely several studies, and I will talk about why customers choose RISE. But I mean, start with a little bit and step back. Why cloud migration accelerates transformation? That's always a key question we get from customer, right? And there are different studies who are available. Like IDC did a study end of last year, and proving that the cloud, when they move to the cloud, they deliver 3 times more features per year in the cloud versus on-premise. So it's about innovation, invention, etc. Or McKinsey quarterly study once also last year published that mature cloud adopters have 55% faster time to market versus those operating on premise. So there is a reason why going to the cloud from innovation perspective. Sure, you have a lot of let go on the heavy lifting, how you manage SAP system, and that's a given. But it's about the innovation, keep up and deliver the best experience to your customer. And AWS itself, right, made a study on the C-level last year with a broad participation rate. And the question was how executives see the cloud as essential to digital transformation. Actually, the response was stunning. 98% of all respondents, they said, hey, cloud is essential for their business, for digital transformation, to keep up and to be competitive in the market. And those we see now on this slide, right? It's a survey from SAP Insider, also a well-known survey we did. And they figured out that number one factor was impacting a RISE with SAP decision is access to the capabilities for innovation. And that's very, very key. And just go back to one slide. So it's the three items which SAP Insider put up. Can you go back to one slide, please? Just this one you had before. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So why RISE with SAP? A customer choose AWS. So accelerate your move to your cloud ERP, and RISE with SAP is the cloud ERP offering of SAP. So and you should have the ability for resilience, experience, high secure, and ensure transformation and innovation as such. So accelerated move to the ERP helps you to realize the value of SAP in the cloud quickly, right? And that's the figures I mentioned before. Minimize migration time and often simplify the path to S4 for those making that move at the same time. And you are considering that, right? So there is an advantage, and AWS has certain tool features which helps that very much. And I mentioned the blueprints on that, what we have, and other tools available to you for free. Right, and the other one in the middle, maximize performance and protect against business disruption. That's very important, right? You want to have a reliable reliability for mission critical operation for your SAP workload, right? So, and that's resilience are very key. And I talk along that. And the last point is very key, right? Innovate faster and transform your business. So you're not done alone with migrating to RISE, but for you as a mixed audience, and that's where your journey is. You can start innovate right away where you are, either with ECC or S4 right away, leveraging SAP to B2B and or AWS service together, right? And I talk about it. So let's move to the next slide. So there are many customers really which SAP bring to market and talk about it, which have chosen RISE with SAP on AWS. And I won't go in all the details, right? There are many customers who made this decision, right? And what I want to talk about it instead is a customer which I met recently at Sapphire now in Barcelona, Hotel Beds. Hotel Beds is a big company. And why I want to talk about Hotel Beds, because they decided for RISE with SAP on AWS. And their business made me really thinking about it, what scale means, right? They have today a 4 billion search per day, right? They have a 260 terabyte data lake, right? They need really performance for the user and for the ecosystem and Hotel Beds. And they have chosen SAP, first of all, RISE, to get rid of the heavy lifting and have a secure finance system. So finance was their core reason why moving to RISE, but they choose for AWS because innovation matters to them. And they are doing the data lake analysis purely on AWS. So they extract data from SAP plus non-SAP data and combine it and run high, fast, quick data lake analytics in the cloud. So that makes them very, what we see, RISE customer, very flexible and agile to meet a customer the need, right? And there was reliability you may look for, right? It's very important that you have a reliable infrastructure and not a little downturn. I come to this. Performance is very important, right? Cloud vendors need to innovate on behalf of you. You have a demand for faster speed, less cost, less price, and we innovate and introduce more instance type over time, also with a lower sustainability carbon footprint as such, and SAP has chosen AWS for that. If it comes to modernization, it's the same, right? You want to take your business where it is today to the next level. So how can you ensure that you can modernize not only the platform, but also keep innovation up without taking the risk, right? Can you experiment? And if you like it, you introduce it and you go further, or if you don't like it, you stop it. So no lock-in. So what can we do there? So let's talk about it in a few seconds. So let's see the slide, performance, hotel beds. Yes, reliability. Let's move to the next slide. So that, okay, next slide. Okay, got it. It's the number 13, please. One back. Okay. Yes, sure. So, I mean, there are many RISE customers, but we should not ignore, you know, since we're doing that since 2008, or actually since 2011, there are thousands of customers, SAP customers, who trust AWS to move their mission critical workload onto AWS, not only to get rid of the heavy lifting, but as I said, to be more secure, more resilient, and to innovate with AWS services and what SAP is available, right? And different kind of industries, different size of customers, startups, small ones, big ones, all have the same capabilities, access to all the great tools, machine learning, artificial intelligence, build data lake, regardless of the budget, because we democratize this kind of technology to bring it to the end customers, right? And we will do the same with generative AI as well, right? A hot topic at the moment, which I do not cover in detail right now. But, you know, customers telling us, we want to have the same experience with generative AI as we have with all other technology AWS providing us with in the analytics part, in the machine learning part, right? To make it easy to use, very secure. I want to be full control of my data, and I want to know where it's stored and not randomly if I mix my personal data with whatever is a large language model available, right? But that's it's coming soon, more information on that. So many customers, we can talk about many reference customers in industries and different kinds. Let's move to the next slide. So there definitely a lot of innovation going on in what we're doing with customers and together with SAP. And just to visualize where AWS really sticks out, right? We amend the SAP customer experience, what they have is SAP S4, ECC, or now we talk in particular RISE with SAP, which was naturally S4. How to amend it with AWS services in a useful, meaningful way, right? It can be in the document processing, right? Where customer using Amazon AI ML-based services ready to use out of the box, right? Amazon text tracking, right? Or how to integrate and extract data from SAP with Amazon AppFlow. I may go into that a little bit later, right? Or more important, since you are in the mix of going RISE, consider RISE versus you are SAP customer, right? What are you doing with your customer app development, right? SAP build apps running on AWS and service from SAP. But more important, with your app environment. So how to integrate and secure your investment you did running further with in the future when you move to RISE. Can you protect your investment? Yes, with a app SDK running on AWS, tightly integrated into SAP system. So and there are much more, I mean, going the predictive maintenance as well, right? Or in forecasting in the retail industry, right? Where a customer really using a ready-to-use machine learning model, SAP forecasting to predict behavior and buying behavior. So, and that's, you know, it's available free to use. You use only the services you need and run those models on AWS. So let's move to the next slide. So, yeah, if it comes to innovation, as we know, RISE or SAP postulate, and we are fully supporting that, keep the core clean, because this is much easier for you, customer, to upgrade and to avoid any surprises. And innovate on top of that. And what we say, RISE with SAP plus AWS innovation. And looking at this slide, going from the bottom up, right? Infrastructure layer is a given, right? That's where we stand in with the AWS Cloud. Provide the right instance type, the networking, the database option, the resilience, the security footprint you need to have in the regions as closer to you to stay secure. And then the application layer, right? Where you bring on the SAP solutions, or, you know, you have many non-SAP solutions as well, but we talk about SAP right now. But you can very much bring everything together on the same stable platform to innovate further, but you can leverage a lot of third-party products as well, right? So how to differentiate there, right? The question is, what is the next step when you move your SAP landscape to AWS, to the cloud? And again, transformation happening in the cloud because it's much easier. It's secure. You can experiment, you can test drive and go back if you don't like it. So that's where the differentiation layer comes in. And as you know, with RISE and SAP, SAP is putting out a business technology platform with a lot of services, 90 plus services out, where you can do your innovation on top of the core as such as for RISE with SAP, but you can also amend it with AWS service to go broader, right? To find business use cases to increase revenue, but while reduce the operational head. And that's what I want to talk about it, the combination, right? AWS plus B2B services to keep innovation up and running. And that would be maybe another poll question we didn't prepare yet, right? How you see innovation as key for you. But maybe we can put this at the end if the IT backend is fast on that to put this question up. So let's move to the next slide. So what will bring the AWS to the table on that, right? Today we have more than 200 services available on top of the 98 B2B service plus 90 B2B services to do any kind of innovation, right? Give you the right tool to solve the business problem, right? Either in ML, machine learning, artificial intelligence, in data analytics, data insights, right? Very well experienced with SAP customer, what they can do, right? I just think about those who play music, you know, the Fender guitar vendor. You know, I met the CFO, and he told me, listen, I do once a month my analytics in AWS, right? Because it's so easy to pull out the data and get the analytics done, what I do, and then enhance that with machine learning to get some artifacts out of that. Very powerful, right? To combine that, and other companies combine it with non-SAP data as well. So here again, we innovate on behalf of the customer, and we bring more and more services out to you to support you on what you need in combination with B2B. Let's move to the next slide and give you a little bit example, right? How you pull data out of SAP. One idea is now we have DataSphere as a B2B service when it was launched last month, run only on AWS. So innovation starts in SAP with the AWS Cloud and gets postulated. But I get a little bit more out of that. So like DataSphere, just to give a hint, because data extraction, this is a particular situation where you use Amazon AppFlow as a service to get old data out of SAP very easily. In an object store like Amazon S3, using data warehouse on top of that to analyze it with Amazon Redshift, right? But can enhance it with serverless features like Lambda for streaming data, right? Redshift to analyze it, recognition to do some machine learning on top of that, right? Very easy to use and ready to deploy with Amazon SageMaker, which gives you as an end user a user-friendly toolbox to apply machine learning. So Amazon SageMaker for end users as well as for really deep data analysts as well, right? So that's how you extract data in and out, is bidirectional, right? Very important that you can use it out of the ready-to-use, ready description, and that is independent of RISE. It's SAP, right? And you have SAP. So if you want to experiment, do it, right? You can experiment without having high risk. Everything is available, and you use the service as you need it once a month, or just experiment how it works. And we are happy to guide you on blog posts how to implement it and how to set it up. So next slide. So another one we experienced that customers really having invested heavily on their custom code, and they can't let go, they won't let go, regardless of RISE with SAP moving. But yes, there is some migration overlap and it needs to be sorted out. So do we have the right tool for you to secure this kind of services moving forward? Sure, right? I mean, that's where the ABAP AWS SDK comes in place, right? In combination with different B2B services, what you can use, like the SAP Master Data Service runs only on AWS, or the SAP B2B ABAP environment, as said with the SDK, runs only on AWS as a B2B service, or SAP AppGyver to secure that, right? So, but with the SDK also ready to use a description available, how to integrate it, make the call out seamlessly out of your development environment, ABAP development, into the AWS services, and leverage the broad set of the 200 plus services as you need it. Very powerful, secure, and performant as such. Let's move to the next slide. So as we talk about innovation, and it's also important to see, yes, what are we doing again and spearheading in this direction with SAP? We developed joint reference architecture. So what are these? These are descriptive guidance to customers where SAP and AWS work together to answer the question, how can I use SAP B2B service together with AWS services in a meaningful way to solve my business problem, right? And we came up with 14, 15 reference architecture with SAP in the data area, in the technology area, in the operation area, etc. And here's only one visual who explains that a little bit, right? Where we guide the customers on which AWS services to use for given problem, and we run different kind of joint reference architecture webinars, and happy to guide you if you are interested to leverage B2B business technology platform services with AWS service jointly in a meaningful way. So, and I talk about it, what does it mean? As you may know, there are plus 90 B2B services out at the moment. If you go to the SAP Discovery portal, More than 80 services are running on AWS, right? 83 services. And more than 25, 26 or 30 services runs only on AWS. And I come to this kind of why this is important to you. What does it mean in terms of innovation? Let's move to the next slide. So what I said is resilience very key to customers, to you, no doubt about that, right? And if you bring B2B or RISE, and if you run it on AWS, you can ensure that we deliver a recovery point of attractive of 0 throughout all regions we are running, right? And that's different, right, to all other hyperscaler. They started last year, end of last year, to cover partially an RPO offering for short range DR offering, but by far not that comprehensive like AWS. And the reason is in the nature of our infrastructure setup, and I come to this in the next point. So what is the question here, right? The question you need to ask yourself, how many data can I afford to lose in case of a disruption, right? In case of a downturn, right? Usually all customers say 0, because what does it brings me if SAP gives me credit notes afterwards, the disaster, I lost data, right? So, and if you know that if you choose AWS as your underlying cloud provider, you got the RPO from 0 without question, right? Regardless of SLA, it's a given, right? And that's the reason why SAP relies so heavily on AWS if it comes to the first deployment of services, etc., right? And coming to the next slide. So the infrastructure, as I said, is very important, right? Today, we have 31 regions with 99 availability zone. Why do we say this? You will hear that so often from somebody else. So why should you care, right? Why does SAP care about it? SAP cares very much about it because they need a resilient, secure environment where they can run reliable DR scenarios as needed. So as you can see, when we talk about regions as physical location, like UAE with Dubai, and we build availability zone around it, right? Three availabilities is around in a meaningful distance wave, right? And they're connected, dedicated with own cable, with own power setup, etc., right? And each availability zone has one or more data center with 100 till 500,000 servers, right? Imagine now from a mission critical workload from SAP, you want to ensure if there's a disruption that is not affected by you. That's the reason why SAP deployed RISE on all SAP on all AWS regions. So RISE on with SAP and AWS runs in all 31 regions. Why? Because we have this the setup given by default, and this is not the case by any other hyperscaler. You will see they don't have only one data center. They have, you know, and then they mix data center with regions, and you need to go in detail. So it's very important how we set up this and with resilience and reliable on that end. And short range DR, I talked about it with RPO 0, right? And the options you have with RISE. But again, if you have SAP native and you move to the cloud, you get it really out once you move it right away. You get the advantage out of that for your security, get the advantage of sustainability, because once you move the SAP workload to AWS, you already benefit of the AWS sustainability footprint. And they did one study, if I talk about sustainability, right? And there was a study comparing on-premise data center in Europe, US, and Asia to the AWS Cloud. And if SAP customer move their workload to the AWS Cloud, they get in Europe an advantage of 5 times X less carbon footprint than on an on-premise side, because we use the instance type, we use very efficiently with less power, more performance, how we build a data center with from a sustainability aspect. So there's definitely a whole story behind it where you can benefit out of for your business to provide your customers again with the carbon footprint and sustainability reporting you need to have. Let's go to the next slide. So to summarize, before I hand back to Gino to talk about how Altivate helps you on the journey, right? And there are a lot of data points to bring to the table, right? Why, again, RISE with SAP and AWS is better choice, or why innovation is better for you to do it on AWS. So let's look at the regions, right? If you look at B2B regions where B2B is deployed, so we have 9 regions today, right? Others has much less. If you look at the B2B services, right? Out of the 90 plus services which SAP puts out, 28 are purely available where we have more service available than Azure, right? Or 39 more service available than GCP. And innovation, SAP starts innovation with AWS. So in 2022, all the B2B innovation which came out, the new one, were launched on AWS, most stayed. There was only, I think, 2 or 3 out of all announcements which were also deployed on others, right? If you look, not relevant very much for you, but you know, the EU access postulate, right? If you look at the Frankfurt region, there are 50 B2B services which SAP puts out, and all 50 runs in the Frankfurt region on AWS. There's another region, Zurich, where then Azure has an EU access in Zurich, but in Frankfurt it's only AWS, right? RPO, I talked about it, the performance and our sustainability, how we use the system. I touched base on it, but again, if we innovate on customers' behalf, we also heard once, listen, I don't like the virtual technology setup where I don't have 100% of the memory, right? We developed our own silicon, right? And with Nitro, that's a kind of that, where we secure that the memory is fully available to you. This gives automatically less security thoughts to you. There's another software running on that, so we externalized that and provided higher performance with less cost, right? Global network, coming to that, right? If you run in your RISE with SAP or your SAP system in the AWS Cloud, right? And you use B2B services or any kind of AWS service as well, right? Everything runs on the backbone of the AWS network. You don't leave the internet. What does it mean? Less security concerns, higher resilience, more stability, less latency, and more control for you. Less cost for data egress as well, right? And that's what you need to envision, right? If you use B2B services, or let's say if you would run on Azure or Google, right, and you start your journey with a B2B transformation service on AWS, you have a mixed back-end platform usage, exposed to the internet, exposed to disruption as well, right? So it's very, very key for our customer, what we heard, to leverage the backbone infrastructure from AWS as one global network. If you run it in another region, everything runs on the backbone from AWS. So to summarize, that's the reason why customers choose running SAP Mission Critical Workload on AWS, in particular, RISE with SAP on AWS, and do innovations together with B2B and AWS service jointly. With that, I want to hand back to Gino. Thank you very much so far.
Thank you, Santa, for your clear, nice explanation on what we are going to get benefit from AWS if your journey is SAP Rise with it, Rise S4HANA Rise with AWS. Thank you very much, Santa. So before taking to my topic, I would like to show one slide which has been scrolled up before. So why Altivate? So coming to SAP on Rise projects and AWS with AWS, I would like to showcase this slide as a real example why Altivate, because we are the SAP Gold partners and we received the Best Rise Partner Award from SAP. And also we are advanced partner and with AWS and a public sector partner for AWS. So this is something which is very much relevant that why Altivate is bringing from our end in the project of S4HANA Rise with AWS. Okay. So in this, I would like to, being a cloud architect, partner cloud architect, closely working with SAP in the RISE project, doing the technical assessment with customer, I would like to give some glimpses what we are doing, what in the transformation journey, especially in S4HANA RISE. Okay. So yeah, coming to this slide, this is a representation what we are going to gain when we are going with an S4HANA RISE project. Okay. So you can see jigsaw puzzle blocks here and left-hand side and right-hand side. Right-hand side, you can have a beautiful laid solved puzzle, and in the left-hand side, you can have multiple blocks. Yes, what we are having currently in an on-premise infrastructure is like for an SAP infrastructure, basically we will be having different layers, like one will be with like the SAP infrastructure, which is here what we are discussing is AWS as the infrastructure provider, and on top of it will be having the operating system, then the database, and then the application. Okay, so for each and everything there will be separate providers, separate vendors, separate SLAs, separate managed teams to take care of it. So that is what we are having in on-premise. But when it comes to S4HANA RISE project with the hyperscaler, here it is AWS, we are going to have with a single SLA, end-to-end SLA with all these blocks joined together. So that is what we are getting with an S4HANA RISE project. So what we are going to get as part of the services when it comes to RISE, we will be having the SAP software support, infrastructure management, AWS managed services, then technical managed services. So these are the three aspects we are going to get as a simple commercial contract. In coming to the software support, it is the enterprise support as well as other add-ons which is required very much with the existence of this project, that is cloud connectors, Adobe document services, and other customer supported as well as SAP supported solution add-on solutions. These will be in the scope of the RISE project. And coming to infrastructure, we will get a higher flexibility, better scalability, availability, and we have got a very well, as explained by Xander, data center availability in multiple regions. And coming to the technical managed services, the best part is we are giving an SLA of, SAP is giving an SLA of 99.7% with the productive system. So Xander was explaining that what is the downtime we can expect, that is 0. What is the data loss, that is 0. So this is what AWS is giving, and on top of it other services, and which makes SAP to give a SLA of 99.7% for the productive system. Even to the customer, I always tell that if it is not a statutory requirement, we can think of an production system without DR, because that is SLA what is provided in S4HANA RISE projects. And another important factor is, yes, obviously we have to go with the latest software, not only in the application, but also in all the layers. So from infrastructure, compute, storage, backup, network, and operating system, database, and application everywhere, because security is one of the important things. So what security vulnerability patches has to be updated in time. So everything will be completely supported in the RISE, and always this is, all this layer will be with the latest software. So this is what we are gaining from S/4HANA RISE projects with AWS. And other important thing is it is with 100% best practices SAP reference architecture. So SAP was doing this for the many number of years, and all this experience is being packed in one simple solution as S/4HANA RISE, and it is it is completely future-proof as standard and with maximum uptime, and it is with new SAP software innovation, everything to be packaged into one product as S/4HANA RISE. So with the best practices, 100% best practices SAP reference architecture. And I was referring that we are going to, RISE is giving an SLA of 99.7%. How it is, what it is. Like this is, you can see different layers, like we have the infrastructure from AWS with network, storage, instances, and database backups, everything together is giving an SLA of 99.95%. And on top of it, we will be having the operating system, HANA database, and application system, which gives an aggregate SLA of 99.7% with the RISE with SAP S/4HANA. And the most important factor for any customer, for any IT, any CTOs, which will be looking at the security overview. Whenever, see, there is a question. See, nowadays we are with maximum SaaS products, everything on cloud. So where the security stands. So this is one of the important question. Obviously, I'm getting from the customer when I am talking to them. So the answer is here. It is completely ISO certified and SOC compliant. And when it comes to the IT infrastructure, it is isolated. In case of private cloud, it is isolated, separate landscape per customer, and security hardened systems. And coming to the threat and vulnerability management, whatever the new patch upgrades comes, it will get automatically updated. Penetration testing has been done, 24/7 security monitoring, all through the systems, all through the layers. And when it comes to the network security, network filtering is the intrusion prevention system is the using two-factor authentication, complete security we are ensuring, and web application firewalls and proxies for content filtering. This is mandatory in case of this RISE projects. And coming to the physical security, always there is like video and sensor surveillance, even for the access of the managed service team to this infrastructure. This is completely access login, security guard, fire detection and execution system, biometric access control to certain locations, all this well managed, so that there should not be any chance of this security issues happened in the complete infrastructure, which is provided by S/4HANA RISE. And we will be having the secure operations in case of asset management, change management, incident management, virus and malware management, and backup and restore management, identity and access management, security awareness trainings every now and then to ensure this, so that whatever environment we are setting up would be completely secured. And this is something which is an example architecture, what the customer, how the customer is going to access when it comes to a RISE project with private edition in AWS as the region. And we have 4 different types of connection accesses, like one is AWS Direct Connect, and another, which is very much common we are using, is VPN site-to-site tunnel network. And other thing is through internet, that is nowadays everything in Fiori. SAP S/4HANA completely in Fiori, so end user can directly access from internet through the load balancers, and this VPN VPC pairing, which is available if the customer network is also in AWS. We can use this type of connectivity. So this is something technical which I would like to present. So that these are the way how an RISE project, RISE implemented system is available with the customer. when it provisioned in AWS region. Coming to the next topic, it is the best practices. Like always, whenever we are taking a project with SAP on AWS, we always be aligned with the best practices what AWS is practicing. Activate is taking it as a mandatory step that we should follow the best practices. And there are different phases in the project, especially in SAP on AWS, like we will be having a planning phase, then design phase, and finally the build phase. So these are the different best practices we are using when it comes to the planning phase, that we'll be having a RASI matrix and we will be reviewing. So it is very much important. The scope of work should be reviewed and finalized before the design itself, so that there will not be any changes which make reasons. See, always change management is a very tedious task which always cause an increase in the cost. So we should have the review in well in advance, and we should finalize what is there in the scope of work. And then we should have an organizational chart and a contact list, so that the communication will be intact, and we'll be having establish an engagement model within house team. We will be discussing the scope of work and RASI and all this contact list in the along with the in-house team. And then we will document everything. Without documentation, our process only is I can say it's 25% done. So or whatever we have finalized should be documented before the design and build phase itself, so that this will be taken care during the design and build phase. So coming to the best practices in the design phase, we are having like that. We will be creating the delivery timelines. Timeline is very much important, that and also the landscape diagrams. So what is going to get as an infrastructure in AWS for the SAP customer, that should be designed well in advance. And we will be, next point is regional services and document decisions, that we should understand what the customer's requirement. Based on that, we should have this regional services and documents during the design phase. And another important factor is the naming conventions. Each customer has their own unique naming conventions to be followed. So this has to be established in the design phase, so that there will not be rework during the build phase. And again, we will be having all this documented. Whatever decision happened during the design phase should be documented and will be taken care in the design phase. So if our design and our plan phase are good, then obviously there is no point to think of that the build is always obviously the best. So coming to the build phase, we are using the agile methodology, and we'll be having a stand-up meetings daily, and we will be having use of a build specification sheet. So whatever we have designed will be taken care here, and based on that, we will be building the system. And another important point is here the quotas. So AWS, there will be having a limited number of service quotas available with the customer. So if it is lesser than what is required, so well in advance, we have to raise a request for increase in the quota, so there will not be any delays or interruptions while during the build phase, and we can keep the timeline. Another, in terms of security, that is key rotation strategy, that we will be changing using this regularly rotating the keys to maintain the risk. And the last but not the least, which is very much important in terms of budget, that is decommissioning unused servers. During the build phase, we might be, because there will be some POC servers, there will be some sandbox servers which may not be required. So this has to be decommissioned so that it will not add up the billings. So these are some of the best practices we used to follow while we are taking up projects in SAP on AWS. Coming to the next part is a customer story. As you all know that when I can present you what is my customer strength, that what they have given to us. Okay. So during the last 2 to 3 years, we have got many number of customers where we have helped them in their transformation journey in S/4HANA RISE and different. So I have taken some few names here which is very much unique because the requirement were unique. So that I thought it would be good to showcase it here. Our first customer is 3P Group. This is a plastic product manufacturer. So we are the implementation partner here for their successful transformation with AWS for RISE with SAP. So there, what was a challenge what they were facing is like in their previous IT system, they were struggled to produce accurate data and would not support the growth and innovation plans. So this was a challenge while we were discussing with them. So we had given a solution to 3P is like implemented RISE with SAP to streamline the processes and choose AWS Cloud for its performance, resilience, and ability to support mission critical operations. And the outcome was streamlined processes across functions, provided users with data-driven insights, and obviously reduced IT focus on infrastructure. Coming to the next customer, which is Gulf Medical, and this customer is we have showcased in it has been published by AWS also. So here the company reported a 40% reduction in cost and improved business agility. So that is, every company is looking forward to have a reduction in the cost end of the day. So that has been taken care. So Gulf Medical Company is such a company. It is a medical supply company in the Middle East and has been using S/4HANA for their critical ERP for years, and it was an on-premise infrastructure. And so whenever they were planning to upgrade their systems, they understood that they require there is a constraint in terms of hardware. So for that, we recommended them the AWS as a solution, and they decided to update its infrastructure and migrate the entire SAP landscape to AWS. And the outcome for them was it has achieved the cost reduction and innovation acceleration, and they have added new features along with during this migration. They have added new feature to their operations, including analytics, disaster recovery, and security. Next unique customer is Mitsubishi Power Saudi. Here the thing was that they were under the global, their global Mitsubishi heavy industries, but their global infrastructure was not able to provide the required hardware or required server types, which is required for this S/4HANA. So what we have done is, as a solution, we have provided the SAP complete infrastructure for Mitsubishi Power Saudi Arabia on AWS, and this solution eliminated the need of Mitsubishi to manage physical hardware and also reduce maintenance and operational cost. As an outcome, along with the migration, they have also added another services like Amazon SES and backup int for taking backup to the S2, S3 bucket, and also security features. And last but not the least, the customer is Saudi Mining Service Company. This is a unique customer. Here I would like to showcase because it's a public sector customer. So, and I want to enforce that how we can utilize the AWS services in a very easy way, because this is like when we were there as an implementation partner, this customer was not even having a network infrastructure at their end. So our challenge, how to give how to implement S/4HANA and how to get the application to the customer since they don't have a network infrastructure. So very easily we were able to provide a solution in AWS using a virtual private network and a site-to-site VPN tunnel to them. And the most important thing is it is very cheap, and because of this, the company in its initial stage does not have to look back and see how they concentrate on how to make this IT infrastructure for them. So it was like we can do this within a matter of 1 or 2 days in AWS. So that is the easiness what we are gaining when it comes to the services what is there in AWS. So that is what I'm having from my end. this is some of the things what I have experienced in my customer interactions, and I hope it will be useful for you as a customer who are interested in their transformation journey, in their digital transformation journey using S/4HANA RISE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dino, and definitely thank you very much, Thomas. Sorry. Thank you everyone for attending today. Guys, if you have any question, please just put it in the chat box and our speakers will help you. Or raise your hand and we'll unmute you to be able to speak. Can we pull up the final poll now? If any one of you wants to take the conversation forward, explore more about RISE with SAP on AWS, you can contact us on contact our business development manager. That's her contacts. And I will follow up today or tomorrow morning max with the presentation and the webinar recording, and with a few open slots for you if you want to talk to anyone on our team to take the conversation forward. And this is our contacts in case you need it. Thank you very much for attending. Can we put the poll now, please?
Sarah, one comment from my side, and thank you very much for again having us AWS Web Services on this thread. Since there was the Q&A not used in Zoom, so if you have any questions, as Sarah said, please reach out, let us know. I assume you have questions regardless of the topic, either how to migrate, what's the next step, how can Elevate help you, or a dedicated technical question. Happy to guide, help you, whatever it takes. So please let Sarah know about it. So yeah, the last question, survey. Are you looking for? What are you looking for?
Give 10 more seconds and we'll wrap this up. Please participate, and by all means, as I said, we will share the content discussed today for your reference, and you can reach out to us at any time, even for just consultation. No need for a full loan offer or something, just for consultation. We're happy to help. Anyone else needs to vote, or shall we wrap it up? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Anyone have any question? Please post it or raise your hand. I think we have one hand raised. Abdulrahman, do you have a question we can help you with? Okay. Okay, that was great. Thank you very much, Thomas, for your time. Thank you, Gino, and thank you everyone for attending. Anything else, please follow up with us. We'll be just one email away and we'll get back to you with anything you need. Thank you very much, and I hope this would helpful enough. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Recording is done, right?